Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu to some of you and peace to the rest of you. You know who this is, Black Heart signing Black and again. Title, I know, sisters, you chomping at the bit. You want to know who it is. First, I'm going to tell you who it's not. It's not the white woman. It is not the white woman. You actually have a two-tiered competition. Your real competition comes in two tiers. What they all have in common, though, is the first and most important thing you need to know. Both tiers have one thing in common, and that is that they can be attractive and cooperative at the same time with a responsible man. Nobody here, neither I nor you, is asking for attractive or any women to be cooperative with irresponsible men. Neither of us is, so let's get that out the way. But the women with whom you must compete are women that can be attractive to men and still cooperate with men if the men are responsible. There is no socialization. Some of you saying, well, we could do that too. No, actually, most of you can't. There are those of you who can, but you're probably married or engaged already. But many of you cannot do it. Many of you can't be both attractive and cooperative, with one exception. There are a lot of ADOS women, not a lot, I'm sorry, there are a few ADOS women, a few Western black women in general, that can be attractive and cooperative if they don't know they're attractive. I mean, goddamn, that tells you how bad the situation is right there. You got some Western or ADOS black women. Well, Western would include ADOS black women. You got some Western sisters that are unattractive and they're not cooperative because they think they're attractive. But once a Western black woman knows she's attractive, she's not going to be cooperative. I don't mean not have an opinion. I just mean cooperative. She's just not going to do it. That's the socialization. Because cooperating with a man, even a responsible man, is seen as shameful for them. He has to be so much wealthier, and even then it might not happen. So I want you to stop and think about that. Now, between or within this group that is your real competition, let me tell you what the two tiers are, the priorities to it. The first one is going to blow your mind, and the second one's still going to blow your mind because of what it's not. The first one is the black woman from elsewhere that can be attractive and still be cooperative if the man is responsible. And her type, of course. Now, that's the first one. That means that we're still talking about black women at this point. So at this point, your main competition is other black women. Then after that, it's going to be some of your Latin Americans that are not black and some Southeast Asian women that are not black. Because you have black folks in both of these regions now. You got them. You got black women in Indonesia and Malaysia, and they are black. And they are Malaysian, and they are Indonesian. You got black folks in the Philippines, and they are Filipino, and they're still black. These are not mutually exclusive categories. In all cases, they're referred to as being the original people of these nations. Bet you didn't know that. But if you take the ones that aren't undeniably black, you still have some competition from the Cambodians, the Thai, the Filipino, the Malaysians, the Indonesians. You still have some competition from these women and from some of the Latin Americans that are mestizo or you don't know that they're black. You still have competition from them. That is the second tier. What that means is if brothers have a choice between black women that are attractive and cooperative and non-black women that are attractive and cooperative, they're either going to get one of both because men can be polygamous, or they're going to get that sister. That's what it means. If she's attractive and cooperative with a responsible man. That's what's going to happen. So at this point, you have to understand that at no point is any non-black woman, especially white women, more competitive than you are because of their non-blackness, let alone their whiteness. In other words, brothers are looking for sisters. Brothers are looking for sisters. They're just looking for sisters to be both attractive and cooperative. That's what they're looking for. You've been socialized as a whole, even if you individually are an exception to this, and it does exist. Shout out to NVK. She's one of them. She's an exception, and she's quite honest. I always respect her for her honesty. But those of you who are exceptions, you know that you're exceptions. The majority of you were socialized to believe that you shouldn't be cooperative if you're attractive, because that's some kind of as beneath you. And that's why these other women are able to compete. And even then, you're told to say, well, it's because they're not black, when in fact they are. They are black, the ones that are actually competing with you and kicking you behind. First they're black, then there's some other non-white category. And even then, they're in a non-white category that doesn't have a history of contention with black folks, like, for instance, Colombians. Now, notice I don't say all Latin Americans, but I'm specifying the ones that have the least contentions with us. Colombians, some Panamanians. In Southeast Asia, they don't have a history of contention with black people for being black. They got a problem with Nigerians, but not black people. And their women are hard. They are stiff competition for you Western black women, including the ADOS. They're stiff competition because they can be attractive and cooperative. And I want you to understand that in actuality, a lot of you have spouted propaganda to penis police black men so that they don't step out, even outside of the nationality, but within the same race. Just that, you spouted propaganda and it has worked. I'm gonna tell you how I know it's worked. There was an African-American man here in the country in which I'm living and working. He married a Filipino woman. He divorced her, not because she did something wrong, but because he felt guilty because of how much she was doing right. And he thought maybe he had intimidated her or something, or he was taking advantage of her. He wasn't. She did it because she wanted to, but that's how he felt. Guilty. He would come home. Now, he was taking care of the bills because that was his responsibility. If she worked, she kept the money, or she didn't work. That was the arrangement. Well, it was one of those two, or maybe both back and forth. Bottom line is she wasn't working and splitting the bills with him. So when he got home, the bath was run. She would start dinner at the time he got home while he was taking the bath so that it'll be ready when he got out of the tub. She would feed him, and she would massage him. And I'm pretty sure at some point she would drain his nuts too. So, I'm sure he was sleeping like a baby after working. He was spoiled. And he said he felt guilty. He confessed to somebody that he didn't divorce her because she was wrong. He divorced her because he felt guilty because he couldn't believe it. He knew not to expect this in a place in which he had grown up and been socialized. And he felt that he could never do enough to repay her for this. He didn't understand that because he was working and supporting her and he was treating her well, that was what she was taking in exchange. He felt he still wasn't doing enough because in the U.S., where he grew up, in the black community, it would not have been enough. Hell, in the white community either, but that's good. I want their community to fall apart. You understand what this, now you see what's going on, what's happening here? It's rough, isn't it? Yeah, it's bad, brothers. It's no joke. So I know that this is real. This feeling of guilt when you're really treated well outside of the context of the West. I know it's real, and is how I know it's real. It happened to me too, but I didn't divorce her because of that. I went through something similar. I was taking care of her. She didn't have to work. But when I would get there, she would spoil me. Now, the places didn't have tubs built into them, so she wasn't running bath water and things like that. But she was making, she'd make tea, she'd cook for me, and it was good. She spoiled me. She did laundry when I didn't even expect it. I went looking for a laundromat, and I remember the first time I went looking for one, and I realized that the same word in Arabic for laundromat was not what they used in her country, so I didn't even know how to ask. I got back, I asked her, what is the name in your or your dialect of the place where they launder clothes? And she said, well, I could tell you the name, but you don't need it. She had done it. She had done the laundry and folded it and put it back into my suitcase, and I didn't even know, and I didn't ask her to do it. When I saw she had done it, I was pleasantly surprised. I mean, it was like she had given me a gift. I turned around, I gave her a big old hug, kissed her on the cheek, and thanked her. And she said, you're welcome, but it's not that big of a deal. What's going on? And that's when it hit me. So I know that this feeling, and I thought maybe I had intimidated her into doing it or scared her into doing it. I had that same feeling. So I know that this feeling is real. I know it exists. Because what was going through my head is what sisters would say. I ain't doing all that stuff. Why should I? You grown man, you wash your own clothes. That's real. That happened. That went off in my head. Then I realized that because I was treating her well and looking after her, she was doing her part, or what she perceived to be her part, even though I didn't expect it. Even though I don't judge women by stuff like that, she still did it, and I appreciate the intention. So I know that this is real, sisters. This does happen, and now that I've said that, I'm going to illustrate the point in a joke, but you'll understand the point. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to do it because I told that joke in another video already, the previous one, about why a community unit should not be penis police for the black community. But the point I'm making is that your real competition is not what you've been saying. It's not Miss Ann. It ain't Becky. Your real competition is not, it's not even everybody but the black woman. It's not every other race of woman out there. That's not it. You got brothers who believe that the black woman is the worst thing out there, but they're talking about the black American woman. You got brothers who will say that, but they're not talking about the race. They're talking about the nationality and the race juxtaposed with each other, conjuncted. They're talking about ADOS women when they say it. Worst one out there. Latinas and all these others, they're better. Yeah, but you start looking at women from the continent, women from other parts of the Americas, and they start cooperating even when they're attractive, unless they become Americanized somehow, and these brothers are happy with them too. So I want you to get over what you've been told. Most brothers still do prefer black women. That is true. And also, additionally, I want you to understand that the day that you can be both attractive and cooperative, if the man can be responsible, is the day, and notice I'm not even saying completely dominated and subdued and dehumanized. I'm not referring to that. But just the day that you can be attractive and cooperative at the same time and respect a man that is responsible is the day that the others would not be able to compete with you, not because it doesn't work for them, but because they're further away. That's the reason. If you are attractive and you are cooperative with a responsible man in the U.S., that brother in the U.S. would choose you over the same thing, but that's in another country to which he has to travel. He would rather wife you up, and then y'all could take a vacation to these other countries as a couple, and either one of you screwing somebody else. That would be easier. That would be better. But that's not what's going on here. You see, ADOS women, I don't care what white women are doing. I'm glad they're messing it up for their men. But ADOS women, they will sit up and say, I'm independent. I got my education. I got all of this. And they'll take a girl's trip and screw around. And then when they get a man, they want the man to pay for the trip. Even though they're working women. They're not housewives, they're working women. This means that it's not financially that you're required to take care of them. It's the other things, yeah, sure. But they will sit up here and say that they're all of this, and then still in all, the man's got to foot the bill for everything. So they want what both of them can afford together, but they still want him to pay for it out of his half. And that's how these sisters are keeping these men broke. That's what's going on. Doesn't matter how much a brother makes in the States, he's not allowed to save nothing, especially if she's attractive. Oh no, because if she's attractive, she wants it all. And she ain't going to cooperate either. This is real. This is a serious phenomenon going on. There's no non-Western nation in which the women are now currently being socialized to believe that if they're attractive, they should not be cooperative. Their cooperation is only for ugly women. Nobody is being socialized to believe this outside of the West. Now, these ideas may be slowly taking hold and spreading in some other countries, but they're also meeting with a resistance. And we are going to see to it that we go into these areas and we resist these ideas so that they don't ruin it for the people in these countries the way they ruined it for us in the U.S. and other Western nations. We'll go to a place like Malaysia or Indonesia, and if someone spouts that feminist stuff, we will shame them and turn around and leave them in front of everybody. Make sure everybody knows it's because of your feminism, your mutually exclusive demands that you want to come together. You want feminism and hypergamy at the same time. That's why you by yourself. Bye. And they get shamed in public. We will do stuff like this because it's already happening. We will do this so that other people will hear the conversation and they'll know, okay, this was a mistake she made. We better not make that same mistake. We better not be turning to our men talking about, I'm an independent woman, but you need to give me all your money. I'm an independent woman, but you don't make enough money. And they know not to do this. They know that if they do this, they're going to drive their husbands away. We'll do stuff like this. I certainly will. I will interfere in other people's internal affairs on a cultural level to see to it that this fiasco does not spread and split their families up. In South Africa, which is one of the most developed nations on the continent, this stuff is there, and the men and the women alike have told me that it is there among a minority and it is stagnated and frustrated. They can't get it to grow because everybody can see through the foolishness. They can look at trash TV in the United States, beamed in from the U.S. to find out how it's going to work. And I've talked to some of these guys, some of the South African men with whom I work, and I've told them what happens and how the black family was already in trouble before feminism and how it got even worse afterwards. And they said, we saw the attempts to do the same thing. We're not going to let it get that far with us. So I'm hoping that what I've said has been a benefit. Sisters, the day that you can be both attractive and cooperative at the same time with a responsible man is a day that no woman thousands of miles, hundreds of thousands of miles away can compete with you, because even if they're that good, you're still that good and you're right there. That's really what it is. You don't want to lose responsible brothers. There are plenty of them out there, actually. You've been socialized to not want those guys, and you're driving them away. And if you simply understand the socialization and you re-socialize yourself, you'll be able to keep these guys. And yes, there's going to be the other thing too. Stop chasing these dudes that are all fun and no substance. In other words, the idness niggas. Quit chasing these dudes that are rough around the edges because you think it's sexy. Unless, of course, you're just going to tolerate the consequences. If you're going to tolerate the consequences and fuck the shuck up, go ahead. But if you can't tolerate those consequences, then you're just going to have to choose a different guy. And you're going to have to be attractive and cooperative to a responsible man that is not one of these idness guys that you find to be thrilling but no substance. You're going to have to do what I'm telling you to do, and you're going to have to do it for a different type of guy than what you've usually been willing to do it for. But if you do that, you can find a responsible man and you can keep him. That's real. I hope that this has been a benefit. Assalamu alaikum. Blackheart signing, Blackout.